Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you're having a fantastic day so far. So Trump recently made his acceptance speech at the RNC convention, and he mentioned something about Social Security, which unfortunately, if nothing is done to reform Social Security within the next decade, unfortunately, there are going to be some cuts across the board for everyone of up to possibly 27%. We're going to be covering what Trump said in his speech, plus a lot more in today's video. But before we dive into it, if you wouldn't mind helping out real quickly by just giving this video a like, that always just helps out with the good old YouTube algorithm. And also consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already. Plus, if you would like to receive up to $200 in free stock or $200 in free cash, in a pinned comment below, I will be leaving a link to Robinhood. All you have to do is once you click on that link is just sign up for a free account and then simply link your bank account. You do not even have to make an opening deposit. At that point in time, Robinhood will be sending you one free stock worth all the way up to $200. And if you'd rather just have the cash, all you have to do is once you receive the free stock is just sell it for what it's worth and then transfer the cash value right back to your bank account. Okay, so once again, Trump recently made his acceptance speech at the RNC convention. Some people loved it and called it very unifying. Other people disliked it. So, had different views depending on, of course, whether you like or hate Trump. But in the speech, of course, some of the things that he said, he mentioned, obviously the border, the economy, inflation, everything that's been taking place. But he also touched base on Social Security, and he had this to say about the program. Watch.
I'm going to protect Social Security and Medicare. Democrats are going to destroy Social Security and Medicare.
So he's saying that the Democrats, not specifically Joe Biden, because he really wasn't mentioning Biden's name in the speech. This was expected, of course, because a lot of people are speculating whether or not Biden is actually going to end up dropping out of the race, whether it's this weekend, whether it's next week or the week after that. There's a lot of Democrats and a lot of pressure on Biden to drop out of the race. We are going to touch base on that in the latter parts of today's video. Trump, of course, on his behalf has pledged not to cut Social Security or Medicare. He's saying that he's not going to be raising the full retirement age. He's not going to cut benefits. But really, all in all, they don't really seem to have a plan to reform Social Security. They're not going to raise the full retirement age. They're not going to do anything. And of course, by not doing anything, unfortunately, within the next decade, there are going to be some cuts across the board by, once again, up to 27%. Now, Joe Biden, he's recently got COVID, so he's been stuck at home, and he said that he watched Trump's speech, and he had this reply to his speech on X. He said that Donald claimed he's going to, quote, protect Social Security and Medicare. He says this is a flat-out lie, folks. Trump proposed cutting Social Security and Medicare every year he was in office, and he will do it again. Kamala Harris, on her behalf, also had a response. She said that last night we heard claims that Donald Trump is fighting for our seniors. How can you claim to fight for seniors when you intend to cut Social Security and Medicare, which is a lifeline for so many of our seniors? One thing is clear, Joe Biden and I will always protect Social Security and Medicare. So, of course, both sides are saying that they're going to be the ones that are going to be protecting Social Security and Medicare. And we've seen 4 years under Trump. We've seen 4 years, almost 4 years under Biden. Neither party has cut Social Security benefits. But what both have done is they haven't reformed Social Security, which, again, if nothing is done at all, if they don't touch it, if they don't change anything about it, there are going to be cuts across the board by up to 27%, because the fact is there are not enough young people working right now and paying taxes into the system where there's going to be enough money flowing into the trust fund on a day-to-day basis to ensure that everyone receiving Social Security benefits at that point in time, come, let's say, 2033 or 2034, to make sure that everyone is able to receive 100% of their benefit. So what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to cut benefits for everyone by up to, once again, 27%. Now, they have some similar views, some differing views, but one of the major differences between the two parties right now are their thoughts on war. Trump and Vance, for their part, are very anti-war. They're not really for the war right now going on in Ukraine, or at least they don't think that we should have to continue funding it. And here is J.D. Vance saying that, look, we're basically throwing $60 billion here. A few months later, we're sending another $100 billion. We're funding their Social Security, but yet here at home, we're letting our Social Security fund run dry. He thinks that our priorities are completely out of line. Let's go ahead and watch this clip.
It's 61 now, but just like Afghanistan, it's another 61 after that, another 61 after that. Correct? We're going to be $500 billion in this thing in before Trump gets back to office.
Oh, absolutely. We're going to be asked to rebuild their entire country. That's after funding another $200 billion in military conflict. There's $300 billion on top of that to rebuild the country. Then we got to pay for their pensioners. We're getting easily $500 billion in the hole for the Ukraine conflict by the time this is done. And Steve, at the very same time, you have people in this town saying we need to cut Social Security. There are people who would cut Social Security, throw our grandparents into poverty. Why? So that one of Zelensky's ministers can buy a bigger yacht? Kiss my ass, Steve. It's not happening.
So, of course, once again, that's one of the major differences between Trump and Vance and Biden and Harris. Biden and Harris seem like they're ready for this war in Ukraine to drag on as long as possible, whether that's another year, whether that's another decade, whether that's another 2 decades. And they're very happy just continuing to fund the war. And even though $40 billion may not be that much, if you add $40 billion every couple months, that's certainly going to add up. That's going to be trillions of dollars going out the door to Ukraine, when instead we could be putting this money maybe in the trust fund or the future of our country. Do we want trillions of dollars going over to Ukraine, or do we want trillions of dollars going into the trust fund for Social Security or other programs to help Americans here at home? Leave your thoughts in comments below. But once again, both tickets, Biden, Harris, Trump, Vance, they have both said they are not going to cut Social Security, nor do they plan on raising the full retirement age. But at the end of the day, they really don't have any plan to save the program or any types of reform. However, we do have one senator who does have a plan. He's, really nailed this home. Unfortunately, the bill that he has out there has not even been voted on, even though he continues to renew this bill over and over. It's called the Social Security Expansion Act. Here is Senator Bernie Sanders going over his plan. Watch.
Social Security is funded by you and by me. We put money into the Social Security Trust Fund. Republicans will tell you Social Security is going broke in a certain number of years, which happens not to be true because most of the money comes in every day. What is the answer? Well, it ain't hard, and I have legislation to do just that. If somebody in America makes $16 million a year, and there are many people who do, and somebody makes about $160,000 a year, who pays more into the Social Security Trust Fund? Anybody know? They say, because there is a cap on Social Security taxes at about $165,000. So you make more than that, you don't pay any more than somebody making $165,000. If we lift that cap and demand that the wealthiest people start paying their fair share, we can do 2 things. Number one, we can rather significantly raise Social Security benefits for all those on Social Security. Number 2, we can extend the solvency of Social Security for 75 years. That's the solution. Ain't hard.
So that's Senator Bernie Sanders' plan right there. And then he also took to X to say that one person makes $16 million a year, another person that makes $160,000 a year. Both of those people put the exact same amount of money into Social Security. That is absurd. We must scrap the cap and demand that the wealthy pay their fair share to extend Social Security benefits. Leave your thoughts in comments below. Are you also on board with that plan? Would you like to see something like that take place? And once again, of course, we're also looking, like I mentioned earlier on, Joe Biden might possibly be dropping out of the race within, could be the next day, could be today that he decides to come out and say that I'm dropping out. It could be tomorrow. Just comes down to, I think if he calls like a big press conference, we can pretty much know what that press conference is going to be about. He's not going to come out and make a big press conference and say, look, I'm staying into the race. He's only going to, he's not going to make any, big announcement at all that he's going to stay in the race. If he's going to come out with a big announcement, it's for sure that he's going to be dropping out of the race and that he's supporting maybe Kamala Harris or whoever they decide to replace him with. But according to Fox News, as of yesterday, as of last night, he said that Biden campaign insists that he's still in the race despite mounting Democratic calls for him to drop out. And once again, right now, he is at home with COVID. I think he's probably really thinking hard about this. he obviously has a lot of pressure. We have the leaders, the House Democratic leaders, we have the Senate Democratic leaders, we have outsiders, apparently Obama and Obama's team. They're pushing hard on him to drop out of the race, even though they're like, look, Joe, we support you. You know, internally, they're really pushing hard on him to drop out of the race. And apparently right now, the consensus is that his replacement would be Kamala Harris, which I have to say, if you're a Democrat, what a slap in the face that they're going to run this primary and allow voters to go out and pick Joe Biden at the polls. This is who Democrats want. Democratic voters want Joe Biden. So, you know, Democrats took time out of their day to go to the polls and vote in Joe Biden. They could have been doing anything else, but they decided to show up and vote. They voted for Joe Biden. That's who they wanted. They don't necessarily want Kamala Harris. So if you're going to replace someone that millions of people went out and voted for with someone that no one actually voted for, and in 2020 got absolutely smoked by multiple candidates like Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris did very poorly in the primary for the Democrats back in 2019. If they're just going to replace Biden with her, that's going to be, quite a slap in the face to Democratic voters. Obviously, right now we are almost in August. The election is in November, so it would be very hard for them to hold another primary. I'm not exactly sure how they're going to go about doing all this, but leave your thoughts and comments below. Who do you think that Biden should be replaced with if he is replaced? And do you think that Biden is going to end up dropping out of the race? Leave your thoughts and comments below. But that's all we have for today's video. I certainly hope that you enjoyed and found value out of it. If you did, again, I would greatly appreciate if you could give this video a like. Consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already. And I will see you in the next video.